I'm Dolly Curtis, and I'm at Yale University in the Harkness Tower at the Carillon. I hope I said that right. And with me is Dr. Judson Maynard, who plays this beautiful instrument, and he's going to entertain us and tell us a little bit about these very unusual instruments. Dr. Maynard, hello.
Hello.
Now tell me how to say it right, so we at least say it once.
You did very well. Carillon.
Carillon. Mm-hmm. And every Friday night in the summertime at Yale, in the Harkness Tower, out comes this beautiful music, melodic music at 7 o'clock, and a different artist plays the music each week for about 7 or 8 weeks, and we're going to tell you more about that. And tonight's your night, and it was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
Thank you.
Lovely, and people come, and some people just sit quietly, and some people play ball, and some people bring their children, and you're up, way up here. In fact, how high up are we?
Inspiring.
We are inspiring or aspiring?
Perspiring.
Perspiring. We're doing that too.
It gets warm up here when you play.
135 steps up.
Or something like that. Yep.
How did you ever get started doing this? I know it's just very unusual. There aren't too many of carillons in the United States, are there?
There are about 150 in the North American continent, and that includes Canada and the Netherlands Antilles, and one in Mexico.
So that means that's a big area.
Yes.
And in Connecticut, is this the only one?
There are about 10 in Connecticut, I think. Is that
really?
right?
10 carillons
so.
in Connecticut?
I think so.
How'd you ever get started, though? Is it because of your other musical background?
Well, I've been in music all my life, and something like this comes along, and I have to take a look at it. And
Try it out.
we got one at the university I was teaching at in Texas. Actually, the first one I played was the University of Montana, which is where I got my first 2 degrees. They put one there, and I played that one, of course. Then at Texas Tech, where I taught for 33 years, they put one in 1976. It was a very good year.
Right. With
the carillon and a Holtkamp organ the same year. And then I got serious about it and practiced and got a sabbatical and studied in Europe.
And now you travel around Europe and do concerts.
Yep. I'll go over there in about 3 weeks, and I have seven carillon concerts and a World Carillon Federation meeting in Aschaffenburg, Germany. This is meeting every 2 years now.
So it's very international. That's what I'm saying with this instrument.
There are more in Europe. I mentioned that that there are about 150 in the North American continent, but there are 150 in Holland alone,
I
which
see
is
that.
about the size of Alabama, you see.
Okay,
So
I got that feeling.
Every town has one. Every town that amounts to anything, and some have several.
And they play them on the Sundays?
Market days usually are the big thing there. Occasionally in the summertime they'll have concerts like they're doing here, but the typical thing is market day, which is Friday in some towns and Saturdays in some towns, and the carillon plays a concert around noon.
So it's not necessarily then religiously connected?
No.
I see.
In fact, even though some of them over in Europe are in the big downtown church, the carillon is, I think, invariably a city job. You're working for the city.
Oh, I see. So it's not church music, really. But you
Not
yourself,
over there.
you are an organist.
Yes.
You're a professional organist. That's what you do for your livelihood. And is that similar to this?
Well, yes. You have keys and you have pedals. I guess the pedals probably the similarity. The keys, if you look closely, are arranged like the keys on a piano. They're just real big.
They don't look so much like that.
These are the white keys, and these are the black keys up here.
Oh, I see.
And instead of playing with your fingers, you push them with your fists. You don't haul off and hit them like that, because if you do that with one of these big bells, you could hurt your finger. It wouldn't hurt the bell.
So do you have big, strong hands and calluses?
Well, but you get on the key and you push it. You have to move the clapper, and in some of these big bells, the clappers get pretty heavy. And something that's heavy has inertia, and you have to overcome that inertia, which you cannot do all at once. I mean, you have to get it in motion. Little bells are less of a problem.
Well, these are the little bells on this side.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a high C.
But some of the big bells, you said, are 6 tons.
The biggest one here is probably 6 tons. Is that 7
tons?
I was guessing.
Well, you know, they're really huge, and you told me they were cast bronze. Is that what you said?
They're bronze, which bell bronze is 20% tin and 80% copper, give or take a little.
Boy, there must be some feat getting those bells up here. I mean, just walking up here was amazing.
They use cranes, I think.
I think so. Well, I want to stop and have you play for us, so
Right.
we can hear some of this, and then we can...
A verse of a hymn. The hymn tune is called Innsbruck. It's an old German chorale melody.
All right, do I have to put my earphones on for this?
If you want to put your fingers in your ears, it'll be better for your ears.
Okay.
I've got my earplugs in.
Okay. That wonderful long after effect too, doesn't it?
Yeah. The low ones especially ring a long time.
Can you tell us some more about the instrument? I sort of did interrupt you there before.
Well, let's see.
I can see how it looks like a piano actually now that I watch you doing it.
And we use our feet also, as an organist does. You can play the bottom half of the keyboard either with hand or feet. If I push down this top pedal, you see it's pulling this key here. It's not a different bell, it's easier to play the big ones with your feet than with your hands because they're heavy. And so...
I wish we could almost share this with everybody. The experience of hearing it from outside is so different from hearing it inside.
Yes. And better.
And better.
Yes.
Better outside.
Yes.
It is, isn't it?
It's
Why?
Too loud. Here, I wear earplugs because
yeah, I know, it's irritating.
Sound levels are dangerous and I have a hearing loss already.
Already?
Yeah.
I see it's irritating to the ear.
Ears will wear out is the thing. Some of our young kids don't believe that, but when they get to be my age, they'll find out.
They have to live a little longer. But the bells are extraordinary. The bells themselves, they're extraordinary.
Yeah.
When you see the weight of them, I can't imagine, how this all happened. I understand it was 1921.
That's when this one was put in. They had a chime formerly, if I'm not mistaken, of probably, 11, 13 bells, something like that.
10 bells and then 1921.
And then added to it. In fact, many of the carillons in this country started out as chimes. The Guild of Carillonneurs has decreed that a carillon must have at least 23 bells tuned chromatically and played from a keyboard like unto this.
To be officially...
So if it only has 22 bells, then I guess it's a chime and not a carillon.
I see. Well, who makes things like this, though? Dr. Maynard?
Nobody in this country is making them currently, although there are a couple of companies that do good work in tuning bells and installing carillons. There is one bell founder left in England, John Taylor, that built this one. There are two in Holland, Ice Spouts and Petit and Fritzen. Over here we probably say Petit and Fritzen, but over there it's Petit and Fritzen. Those are both in Holland. There's one in France, the Packard Bell Foundry, and I'm very fond of their bells. There's one in Norway, and there's one in East Germany, Schilling Company.
Well, what is this one like to play? I mean, you've played all these different carillons in different countries on your concert.
They're big, heavy bells, and the low bells are wonderful. One of the problems with the older carillons like this is that the top bells taper off in volume.
Oh, yes.
And
You don't
I
get
could
that
hit it a little
sound.
harder, but there's a point beyond which you're just beating your knuckles and doesn't increase the sound. They have figured out how, in more recent years, how to make treble bells that have more pizzazz and will sound louder. They cast the bells thicker. The pitch is determined by the diameter of a bell, but they've learned to make the bells the right diameter and short, but big, thick walls.
Well, what material is all of this? I'm looking at wood.
Oh, the keyboard
Yes,
is wood
wood,
and steel,
stainless
and
steel?
a lot of felt
Yeah.
or leather paddings, rubber.
I'm just thinking it gets a lot of weather on it. I mean, not weather falling on it, but we're in a non-heated space here, aren't we?
Well, there are some heaters that they can turn on in the winter, but it still gets cold, believe me.
So, I mean, this piece of wood is going from summertime 100
Oh, yeah.
degrees
Oh, yeah.
to 0 degrees, and it's getting a whole range
I suspect that's good hard oak, isn't it?
right, because it's going to contract and expand with all this.
I
And
think the keys are too.
how do they tune something like this?
They're
Difficulty.
tuned at the factory. That's no joke.
What's it mean? Only when they're made?
Yeah, the bells are cast, and they have to cast them within pretty close tolerance. And then when they get them out of the mold and cleaned up, then they put them on a turntable. They put the bell upside down so the bell is facing up, and it's somewhat like a machine lathe. And they put a tool down there that scrapes away at the inside of the bell to remove a little metal, and they know just exactly where to scrape.
So they get someone with perfect pitch there?
I mean, they can adjust it within tolerances. I mean, they can't completely make a different note out of it.
So they cost millions of dollars?
Oh.
I mean, they cost millions, okay. That's what I figured, they're very
I mean,
costly.
they're very expensive. I would shudder to think what a Caroline like this might cost today.
Because of the foundry casting, because of the materials?
Bronze is not cheap.
Yeah, I know.
It's bronze is copper and tin, and both of those are expensive metals. I'm thinking $250,000 I heard for one that stopped at this pitch here.
Do they, as they age, do they increase in value like so many things? I mean, did they hold their value? I mean, just moving this would be a major feat.
It's not going anywhere.
Not, yeah.
I don't know if it would increase in value much, except that the replacement value would increase, replacement cost would increase.
It's in good condition, though, I think, just
Oh, yeah.
looking at it. The guild must take good care.
You're looking at the wood, but I'm looking at the way the keys play, and they maintain this very well.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Who are the people that take care of it?
The guild?
Pardon? Burden Company, IT Burden out of Cincinnati.
Oh, so they come in and maintain it
Once a year.
once a year, something
They
very good.
adjust things and grease all the moving parts upstairs because see, the clapper is swinging and that joint has to be greased. And all of the little wire connections, sometimes they'll lubricate those too.
So when you told me that when you come up ahead of the concert for half an hour at least and sort of get the bells in,
I was adjusting these
Adjusted.
turnbuckles up here. Let me show you what happens if I tighten that up a little bit. See, we don't like that.
then it doesn't have that vibration that long.
It's choking, but yet, well, what this adjustment does is adjust how far away from the wall the clapper is. And you want it to be as close to the bell as you can. That is with the key down here, you see.
So on a warm night, is it different than a night?
Yes.
Oh, I thought so. The weather affects it.
I didn't really change it much today. In fact, some of them were too tight and I had to loosen them a little bit. It probably was adjusted when it was hotter in the daytime.
I heard you up here before the concert.
Yeah. And some of them
Playing.
were choking when I first touched them, and so I loosened
I
those.
see.
Others I would tighten a little bit to find out where the choke was.
In between the pieces, were you playing little chimes to give people the idea of which number it was in the concert?
Mocking my brow and having a little sip of Gatorade, actually.
Is that what you were doing?
Yes.
Because it gets that warm when you're really moving?
I had my shirt off and I was dripping wet.
Oh, really? I know. I saw you when you poked your head out to take your bow at the end.
I grabbed my shirt then.
Every Friday night at 7 o'clock. It's just a wonderful, for years they've been doing this, I think, too.
Yeah, they have.
And a lot of people know they come every Friday night. It's easy to park and it's easy just to come and sit down. There's no effort involved. I want to ask you a little bit about your background. I know you mentioned before you're from Texas, but you said you were from Montana. originally?
Well, I got my first 2 degrees at Montana. My wife is a native of Montana. My parents moved out there when I was a senior in high school, so I went through college there.
It's a
taught there.
hot spot right now. All the young people talking about it, Montana.
Well, I don't want to get into that.
Okay, then you
But
went to Texas?
I moved to Texas in '61 and taught 33 years at Texas
That's a
Tech
lot.
University. Yeah.
It's a lot of years. So now you want to leave now, or are you retired?
No, I'm retired. I don't.
But you're going back to Texas. I'm so disappointed. I was going to come hear you
Well,
play the organ.
I have some
Okay.
daughters there.
Oh, you
and,
want to be back with the
some
family.
grandchildren, and that sort of thing.
So I hear you're heading back this summer. We're going to miss you.
Yeah, in just a few weeks.
Especially the guild probably of carolers. Did I say that right?
Pretty close.
I'm getting there. If I keep saying it, I'm going to get there. Well, I'm so impressed. I mean, I came for the concert with some friends, and all I wanted to do was come upstairs.
Good.
So that's why I'm here, and we arranged this. And I just wish you'd play one more time for me. I'm just so thrilled to be here.
Other guitar piece, which is called Adelita.
Okay.
Even though it's 9 o'clock.
From
Well, I guess people would ask you to play all night if they could, It is.
Yes, well,
They do. They really hurt.
They can.
You say you play with your fist and the pinky.
yes. And this little pinky here lost some skin after my last one, but I'm getting pretty good calluses built up.
Yeah, I see.
In the winter, when I don't play so much, then they go away. And
What happens in the winter? Do you play with gloves on? I mean, it could
No.
be. Do they do a Christmas concert? I imagine.
I'm sure they do.
I'll have to find out about that. It must be very
I just
difficult
play
when
barehanded the same way.
when your hands are stiff, though.
But sometimes if I haven't been practicing, I may put some tape around just to protect them a little bit.
Because they're tender. Because the skin is
You
tender.
can wear blisters in a hurry if you are not in good shape.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I know you're off for Europe, which is what I've been told. And it's
I'll play 7 carillons over there and go to the World Carillon Federation, which
and it's
meets
going to be
in
Holland, Germany, and you're going to be playing in Holland.
Play in Holland, Belgium, Germany, one in France, in Tourcoing, and one in Ireland. Aer Lingus has a nice little deal that you can fly to Europe and stop for a couple of days in Ireland at very little extra.
So do you speak all these languages in all these countries, or you have interpreters help you? All right.
Well, in Holland and Belgium, in Holland, everybody speaks English.
Okay.
And probably better than you and I. I mean, they're really good. And the educated Belgians will also speak good English. France is a bit more of a problem. I can read French. I try to say it, and they can never understand me. I'm getting a little better with German. Again, I can read it.
It's nice, though, that this instrument brings you all over the world.
Yeah.
And the people who come to play the concerts here at Yale come from all over the world every
Yes,
week.
there are, most of them are
Belgium.
Europeans this year. Frank Deleu played, and Gert Oldenburg.
Marvelous.
Hollander and Oldenburg.
Oh, both of them.
So these are the best, some of the best
they're big names, yeah.
carillonneurs in the world?
Well, they're big, they hold down important towers in Germany and Holland. Hans Hielscher is going to play a little later on. He's a good friend of mine. I always play in Wiesbaden when I go over.
Do you people ever play together, two of you, on one, that's hard.
We haven't practiced anything.
No, I'm
But
saying,
Hans always has me play in Wiesbaden, and he's playing a little later this summer.
oh, you all know each
And,
other.
yeah, I know all of those fellows playing on the series this year.
It's really nice.
And there are some Americans too, but
Well, I want to thank you so much for letting me climb all the way up here. It was good for my aerobic ability.
yep, I'm sure it was.
And it's a thrill. And I would like to introduce, if I could introduce the young man who is looking after the Carillon this summer, Matt Gubens,
Gubens.
to the audience, and maybe he could tell us a little bit about the students at Yale and their involvement with this.
You want me to trade places with
Yeah,
you?
would you?
Sure.
Here with me is Matt Gubens, who is in charge of the Carillon for the summer.
Yeah, co-chair of the Guild of Carillonneurs, the student group that plays the carillon during the year at Yale.
The students play this every day, is what I understand.
Yeah,
What's-
actually, when the carillon was donated, the people who donated, they made a provision in the endowment that students had to play it because they recognized the fact that Yale is an undergraduate college and they wanted undergraduates to play the carillon. So to carry on the tradition, we have the Guild of Carillonneurs, and each year in September we allow anyone who's interested to take lessons for 2 months. And at the end of the 2-month period, we audition them and we take a few each year to play on a daily basis.
So give me an idea of the numbers involved here.
Let's see, this year we started with 75 people who were taking
Interested.
lessons. We auditioned 25 and we took 6.
Wow, it's
So it's
very
Fairly
competitive.
competitive, yeah.
Now, what kind of
There's lots of interest
backgrounds?
into it.
Lots of interest, but are these people very proficient, the 75?
Well, we do expect people to have at least a reading knowledge of music. Most people have played piano, or some have even played organ. Organ, as you see, we saw the foot pedals, is really advantageous to learning the carillon because the coordination of hand and feet is very difficult.
Who does the teaching, though, when you say, it's a lot of people to teach, 75 people?
Yeah, it's the current guild members actually. So it's kind of a tradition of teacher handing on to student the knowledge they've gained over their years here. So it's kind of fun. The students teaching students.
But I mean, that's a lot to do on top of, I mean, it's a pretty rough school to be in. You've got to carry a full credit load, and on top of that, be teaching maybe 10 people?
Sure, and it's, well actually each of us has a teaching load of 4 to 6 students.
4 to
So
6.
it's manageable, and that's 3 hours a week. But people who are in the guild really do put a lot of time into practicing and performing. We're very committed to it.
So there's a place where they can practice? They don't practice on this?
No, and then drive the people crazy.
See.
2 floors below here, we have a practice console that plays onto a xylophone instead of onto the bells themselves, so we can play that 24 hours a day without disturbing anyone.
And doesn't go out into the world?
Right, exactly.
Now, actually, what happens, though, every day with the people in the guild, the students that are full-fledged, what do? They come up here at noon and play, or?
12:30 and 5 o'clock each day, they play for half an hour, and they have free reign over what they play. We've heard everything from Bach and Beethoven all the way down to Madonna.
So, in other words, every day, people in New Haven get to hear this. So
And
this is-
especially the students who live downstairs.
well, they love it, huh?
Some of them do, some of them
And
don't.
which college are we in?
Branford College.
So Branford College is where it's, but it goes throughout, off the green
Yeah.
and everywhere.
On a nice day, you can hear it, for a 3-block radius. all
Does
the way.
anybody get credit for this? I mean, imagine somebody's doing this, they must be quite good at it, to be able to play here for half an hour. I mean, someone who's been in the guild for 2-3 years.
We don't have a credit program here.
I don't mean that kind of credit.
Oh.
I mean, I know you're in the college, university life. I mean, it's recognition.
Not
No.
really, no. But, we get the opportunity to meet carillonneurs who visit for the summer, like Judd. We also get a chance to go on tour every year during spring break. We've been to New York, Pennsylvania. This past year, we went to Belgium and Holland.
What's a healing monster? I have to ask you that question before we...
Well, as I mentioned, we have that process by which we get new members, and the person who's in charge of the training process, which is called a heel, has traditionally been known as the healer monster.
Is it H-E-A-L? Like
H-E-E-L, like the heel of your foot.
H-E-E-L.
Yeah, which I think is derived from, guilds of old, the training process by which apprentices taught their students,
So
in
is it
medieval
you?
guilds. It was me this past year, yes.
This past year.
I served as healer monster.
So your job is to see to it that everybody does what they're supposed to?
Right, right.
And this summer, you're in charge of the whole program.
Right. Over the summer, it's a paid position because they want to provide for your housing while you coordinate the summer series and then give 2 concerts of your own a week.
Oh, that's what you're doing, in
Right.
other words. And when do you do
Right.
that?
I give mine just different days.
All right, so we should tell everybody, when you come to the concert, it is in the Harkness Tower.
Right.
Which is right off of the green. It's in one street on York
High Street.
High Street.
And actually, the best place to hear this carillon is Old Campus, which is between High and College and Elm and Chapel, because it was actually designed to be heard down on that courtyard. Yeah, as you said, it's not quite as, it doesn't sound as good up here, but it's designed to be heard on that courtyard,
But
really.
this is very easy for people, because this program is going to be aired in many, many parts of Connecticut, and they could find the Yale Green very easily.
Oh, very easily.
I mean, the New Haven Green, and then come over one street.
One block over.
One block over into the sort of the main wall, the main gates.
Right.
And hear the concerts at 7 o'clock every Friday night in June,
June, July, and August.
July, and part of August.
Mid-June to mid-August, usually.
Okay, and
We
it's
usually have a
at-
set of 9 concerts.
It's every summer, it's free, and you can bring your children and your grandmother and your friends and your enemies too, if you want, and become friends again, and just sit and listen, bring a chair.
A lot of people bring their dinners or their, wine and cheese, and it's just, it's a fun evening.
Bring your chair or sit on the grass and have one. It's nice, it's quiet,
Sure.
it's sort of sedate, just like you, and it's just a pleasure to be here. Well, thank you so very much for
It's my
letting my
pleasure.
cameraman, Victor Cromwell, and I come all the way up the 135 stairs, and now we're going to climb down
That'll be fun. Huh?
successfully. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me.